brushed my hair, but she took it out of time. No, I didn't. Yeah, so when you're really sick, I still have a cough, but other than that.
All right, we're gonna get started. Happy Tuesday, coming into the holidays. It definitely feels like the holidays with a little bit lack of participation and the weather. But I always encourage everyone to keep their foot on the pedal because opportunity always exists, no matter what's going on in the market, and the fact that we're coming into what is typically a slower season, which just means gives you that much more of an opportunity to distinguish yourself and create opportunity through action. So I always start off with a little piece about action, leadership, environment, and I firmly believe in this statement: leaders inspire action, which is what I'm trying to do with everyone and what we're all trying to do with one another, right? How do we inspire action? Action creates results, and without action, there are no results, period. Sorry. All right, so we're going to the next slide, please. Leaders earn influence. As John Maxwell would say, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less, right? Influence is when people are willing to follow you, right? Believe that you've got something of value that they're willing to follow, right? And trust and believe in you. And that's what we're trying to earn with our clients, right? If we don't have influence with our clients, they're not going to work with us, right? They've got to believe that you are the vehicle for their success, right? Michael, do you want to read that first statement?
I got it. Leaders help others view things from other people's perspectives.
I'm a huge believer that trying to look at things from the other person's perspective, as human beings, we typically look at it from our own perspective, which is only natural. But if it's not win-win, if it's not mutually beneficial, it's not, most of the time, not going to happen. And if it is going to happen, it's not sustainable if it's not mutually beneficial. So trying to look at it from the other person's perspective, I think, is critical to creating value for others, to connecting with others, and actually doing deals and having relationships with other people. So always try to view it from the other person's perspective. Michael, next one.
I feel like it's passive.
There you go.
By changing your thinking, broadening your horizons, and remaining grateful, you more readily see opportunity where others don't.
Yeah, I just think like so much of it is like find the silver lining, find the opportunity in every situation, which isn't always easy, but always exists if you're willing to be resourceful enough and focused enough and open-minded enough and innovative enough to find that opportunity. And we all can relate to that with deals that we're doing with our clients, right? We're going to run up against challenges and roadblocks, but there's always a solution in every situation if you're willing to be innovative enough and resourceful enough to make it happen. And leaders show people possibilities that they otherwise perhaps could not have seen on their own. And we're all leaders if we choose to be leaders, right? I won't get you on the next one here. Leaders lead by example. They model the behavior that they, basically espouse, showing again greater possibilities, right? I think such a big part of leadership is leading by example. Like your actions speak so loudly that I can't hear what you say, right? And it coming back to always, I always come back to being a parent, right? Your kids don't necessarily do what you say you tell them to do. They do often what you do, right? They model the behavior, and we all are modeling behavior that people are going to either want to follow or not, right? So is the behavior that you're conducting every day something that people want to follow and respect, right? Ask yourself that, right? And none of us are perfect, but how do we improve upon that and become better at that, right? You earn influence by showing that you care. No one cares what you know until they know that you care, right? All the knowledge in the world means nothing if people aren't willing to listen and you have not earned their trust. So I do believe that knowledge is a great starting point, but knowledge without a connection, knowledge without action doesn't get you very far. And again, leaders connect with people, they find common ground, they ask good questions and they listen, and then that's how they earn the trust and respect of others, such that they can then impart that wisdom, that knowledge, that value, and people are willing to take it, receive it, and do something with it.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is very apropos, but I just got off the phone call with a buyer client that one of our agents represented. They closed escrow a few months ago, and she received something, a notice from the city that there was an open permit. She called and said that nobody's helping her figure this out. We just made a lot of money on the commission and all that. She wants some help. And, my first response was, this is something that brokers don't do. It's not just call a lawyer. If you feel like, this is something the seller didn't disclose, you gotta call a lawyer. And she's like, I just want somebody to help, so at the end of the conversation, she just needed somebody to, see if there's any answer besides going with the attorney parties. Just listening to her, and she said, I could tell that you care. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I love that. And look,
So-
everyone here can care if they choose to, right? So everyone has a lot of value to provide to other people if they choose to do that. It's real simple. We overcomplicate it, right? And it's always what I come back to. Leadership is about giving with no expectation, right? Leaders lead, right? It sounds so obvious. That's what leadership is. You're not waiting for someone else to take the first step. You're willing to have the courage to take that first step, take the initiative, be proactive, and it creates reciprocity. People naturally give back when they are given something, right? So be that initiator, be that leader. Servant leaders listen, as we just said, more effectively to ultimately serve people, right? You can't help people if you don't know where they are and where they want to go. Don't assume that your goals and your aspirations are their goals and their aspirations, right? If you don't ask the questions, then you won't necessarily know. You may be pleasantly surprised, because again, human nature is to assume that, hey, I want this, and therefore everyone else must want it. But it's not often the case without asking the questions, right? The act of giving in and of itself is rewarding because, again, you understand that you're positively impacting others. We're all creating our legacy every single day with our actions and the impact we have on others. So is that something you're proud of, right? Ask yourself that. If not, how do you become better? And we all can improve, right? And that's, to me, also part of leadership, is being humble and recognizing that no matter how good or successful you are, you can always become better. And if you're not willing to be humble and open-minded, then you're never going to become the best that you can ultimately be. And then that cycle of generosity and gratitude and growth, everyone can and should win, right? Everyone can and should win. Life, business, personal relationships are not a zero-sum game. It's not one person's win. It needs to be someone else's loss. Everyone can and should win. In my view, that's great life. That's great leadership. That's great business. Any thoughts or feedback or questions?
I think that last statement is so critical in real estate. And if you want to develop a good reputation in this business, and you operate where everyone should win, and if you are happy that the other side is happy, that's a win-win. You're going to get an escrow at that same agent down the road again. But if you have a reputation where you have to win by others losing, you're only going to hurt your reputation. So
Yeah.
in a business like ours, I think the win-win mentality is at the top of the list.
Yeah. And hand in hand with that is playing the long game, right? Your reputation has major implications over the long term, right? So I think recognizing that is where the best get that, and they operate and they act accordingly. And it's not always about what's in it for me now. They understand the implications of what they're doing now in the future. Rhonda. Yep.
I always use the words win-win when it comes to negotiating requests for repairs. I'm talking to the other agent, like, how can it be a win for the buyer and the seller? Like, what can we collectively come up with between the two of us as realtors and agents to make them both happy? And that's when I literally use those words
Yep.
all the time.
I
Let's
think
make it a
it's-
win-win.
It's definitely a core philosophy that I try to live by.
Because I see that I'm caring about their client as
Yeah.
well, and just trying to get it done so that we can get the closing and everybody can be happy.
Love it. All right, last one. And then I think so much of leadership and being a great performer is just personal responsibility, right? You can have reasons or results. You can't have both. There's tons of great reasons and tons of great excuses. No one wants to hear it. It's like, make it happen, right? Whatever that takes. Often that's going to take a lot of commitment. It's not going to be easy, a lot of challenge, but make it happen, right? When you make a commitment, make it happen. Leadership is a fundamental understanding that you control your destiny through your actions, right? It's not in anyone else's hands. When you create excuses and all that, all you're doing is disempowering yourself, right? As opposed to putting the power in your hands by saying, hey, this didn't go right. What could I have done differently? How can I perform better next time? What lessons is there to learn from what happened, right? Put the power back in your hands. Don't give it away to others by creating a lot of excuses. Leaders cast a vision, they have a plan that includes others, right? I think that's critical. You can go far faster and far further with other people. I think a lot of people lose sight of that as well. I'd rather have a smaller percentage of something much, much bigger than a huge percentage of something much smaller, right? First of all, that means you have more typically, I mean, with the math, and you're gonna have a lot more fun, and you're gonna learn a lot more in the process, right? I think so many people are very short-sighted when it comes to that. And then again, have a plan. If you don't have a plan, then you're running, rudderless, right? Have a plan that really focus on the activities that you can control, that are not in anyone else's hands, that you can execute on a consistent daily basis. If you don't have a plan, ask for help, right? Trust is earned through, the consistency and the congruence of your words and your actions, right? That's credibility. And then ultimately your track record, like what have you accomplished? That is a very strong indicator of what you will accomplish in the future. Even if you made a career transition from something else, you were very successful, often that will translate into what you do in the future, right? What is your track record? Your track record is a very strong reflection of what the future is expected to be, and how consistent are your words and your actions, right? And none of us are perfect at all, believe me. I mean, but I think at least when you're aware that what you say has consequences, and are your actions, following through on what you say is really critical. Follow up, as they say, the fortunes in the follow up and the follow through. Otherwise, it's like the boy who cried wolf, right? We all understand that, right? When you say you're going to do something, you don't do it, then people start to not listen any longer, right? So be aware of that. Create an environment, and this is something I'm very, very passionate about, and try to be very purposeful about engagement, collaboration, innovation, transparency. Again, that's where people feel valued. They feel like they matter. There's trust amongst one another. There's something fundamentally to learn from everyone. If you're open-minded and you take that perspective, you come from curiosity and you come from contribution. And to me, the culture and that collaborative culture is the foundation of this office, first and foremost. I would say the greatest value proposition is our culture if you plug into it, right? If you plug into it. And to me, like I would say, you will become a better leader by coming to this office. And that is like the legacy I'm trying to create, because that will transcend throughout every area of your life, not just your business, but your personal life and everything else. And it'll make you happier and a better person, right? So everyone has a responsibility to bring their best and hold one another accountable, right? And I think having healthy competition and accountability just brings out the best in everyone. Any thoughts on any of that? Maxwell? I'd love to call on people.
Yeah, no, I think it's one of the most important things is taking responsibility. Anybody who knows me, I'm the first one to take responsibility, and it has served me quite well. And in this market, the way it is, we're all going to lose listings. We're going to go through different things. We have to take responsibility of what it is that we could have done wrong, what it is that we could change in the next. Because right now, all of your real skills are going to come into, you're going to have to use everything to think, you have to understand, and you have to tell people what is going to happen. Even they want what they want, but you have to let them know the market going, these are the things you should expect.
Yeah.
When they happen, they know you have already prepped them for it, and responsibility comes in knowing what you're doing your business.
Yeah.
And knowing that we have to really be on top of what we need to do. The hard work is really in this type of market.
Yeah.
But also so are the best businesses in this type of market.
Yeah. Great opportunity, and the
Great
skill comes out. Because when everything's working in everyone's favor and everyone's doing deals, it's much harder to distinguish yourself. There's a huge opportunity to distinguish yourself now. And I'd like to think that our office, with the kind of training we have, level of collaboration, allows us to more readily distinguish ourselves, gain market share, even though perhaps our businesses go down a little bit, but the market's going down even more. We're actually gaining share of the market, such that when the market becomes more robust, we're that much further ahead of the guys. So it's about market share. It's about getting our unfair share through the skill and knowledge and care that we deliver to our clients. And we all have that opportunity, no matter where you are in your business. So anyone else with any comments or thoughts before I move
This whole thing is making me think of the four agreements, the book.
Oh, I
So
love that.
I don't know if anybody,
Did you want to tell everyone what they?
I'm not gonna get it right. Do you know what they are?
Not exactly.
I know what they
Yeah.
are.
You know what they
Go
are?
ahead.
Always do your best.
Yeah,
Be impeccable with your
Impeccable
word.
Be
with your
impeccable with your
word,
word.
yeah.
Don't take things personally.
Yeah.
And
Don't
don't
assume.
assume.
yeah.
Yeah, I love, yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
If you haven't read that book, I strongly recommend you do. It's a quick read.
It's a tiny.
It's tiny, yeah, and it's life changing. The four agreements.
Yeah. And I mean, all of them I love, but like, don't assume, I think it's more like, don't assume. Right, I think, you know, ask and listen.
Don't take it personally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big one.
You
Because
don't
that's
get
human
emotional.
nature, right? We think like everything's directed toward us, and meanwhile, we have no idea what's going on their end of on their side, right? There's all the noise and craziness that has nothing to do with us, which comes back to like focus on what you can control, which is a lot easier said than done. But truly, when you really start to master that, it's amazing how much further you will go and how much you will use your energy and your effort much more effectively. So,
When you
Yep.
can do that, your mind just frees up.
Yep.
I mean, just simple things like you pass somebody and you say hi and they don't say hi back. Why didn't they say hi
Yep.
to me? Were they mad at me? You know, you spin into this craziness, but maybe they just didn't hear you.
Yep.
Maybe there's someone in their brain, you know what I mean?
Totally.
And when you can just master that,
Yep.
that's a beautiful gift to yourself.
agree.
And like giving with no expectation, so that high wasn't for a high in return.
Right.
It was because you wanted to smile or
Yep.
initiate.
Love it, love it. Good stuff. Thanks, Aaron. Okay, we're gonna keep moving fast. Go ahead. Next. Always want to recognize the weekly closings. I'm not gonna go down every name, but still very robust in in all fairness, and obviously a shifting market. We all can experience that, but still nevertheless tremendous opportunity. Those are weekly closings and a lot of great people there. So let's give them all a round of applause.
And some high closing.
Oh, some big deals.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. This is where we stand year to date, and we are behind relative to our goals, which were very robust goals, but we're 5/6 the way through the year. This is not in November, which is almost closing, so that would be 83% if I'm doing the math right. So we're pacing a little bit behind, 70-ish%, give or take a little bit. You can see year to date listings taken. This is the annual goal. This is where we are. That's the gap, pretty straightforward. We're still by far the number one office in California in profitability, by far out of over 105 Keller Williams offices in California. We are number one. So I take a lot of pride in that.
Was that last year?
So, yeah.
October?
Oh, yeah, so which one is which?
October.
We're behind. So
It says
this is October 21.
Yeah.
So, we're not, obviously we were in a very frothy market for sure last October, and we're a little bit behind, not crazy behind, but definitely, behind a bit. Our profit last October was 72,000, and this is one of our weaker months at 17,000. But still doing really, really well. I expect to hit that, I hope to hit the $2 billion mark in total volume. The goal is 2.3. We still have a number of top teams that have joined us just in the last couple of months that really have not hit the radar yet. So I do expect 2023 to be extraordinary. So again, great accomplishments, but still got some a ways to go. And I'm never gonna diminish the expectation here. I always say I'm not interested. We're not interested in being second best. And if you're gonna be the best at something, it comes with a lot of responsibility, a lot of accountability, and a lot of hard and smart work. And I'm all in. So I hope you guys are right there with me, because it doesn't happen without you. So anyway, round of applause. These are, and I know I posted this I think a week ago, but top agents for October, individual agents: Tatiana, Hamid, Jordan, JJ, Desiree, Devin, David, Adriana, Ashkan, and Mark. So let's give them a round of applause. We got the top teams: the Suarez team, Bella Crackle, and Adam's last name Glick. So now it's Bella Crackle Glick. And we're happy to have him here, Adam. Sean Cormandy and Score, the Yarborough Group, Jeff Yarborough Group, and partner CRE, one of our top commercial teams. So amazing job. point out, and I know Austin's usually there to help me point it out, but a lot of commercial business, which continues to gain tremendous momentum. Partners CRE is a commercial team. Jordan's a commercial agent. Yumi's a commercial agent. David's a commercial agent. So a lot of great commercial business.
I was gonna mention, with commercial, we were at the KW Commercial Summit in Austin a couple of weeks ago, and the company, Keller Williams International, is really behind growing the commercial division. We've done a great job here in this office.
Yes, I think we're the number one
Probably,
commercial
yeah.
office in the country.
And, but one of the things that was eye-opening for me is if you have clients that, all do residential, so these people might own businesses, might want to buy businesses, might want to do 1031 exchanges, where it doesn't make sense here in California, but other states, there's a whole network from, East Coast to South, to wherever, and whatever type of commercial, industrial, leasing, triple net leases, whatever it is. If you have somebody, just contact Austin. He'll put you in contact with whomever or and you can get a referral fee from that. And if you're here, remember, if you're a residential agent, you're not doing commercial, you got to partner up with a commercial agent. It's a risk management thing, and so.
Good stuff. And thanks for being, we would have had more people at the commercial summit, but it conflicted with the ALC clinic. So, but anyway, thank you, Michael. All right. We are going to recognize some amazing people here. Kristen, do you want to come up and do this with me, or? Yeah.
I mean, why don't we invite everyone?
Yeah. Yep. Come on.
The certificate is under the
Okay. Where? Oh,
laptop.
under the laptop. Got it. So we have an amazing. I'll start off by just saying we have an amazing mentor program. There's a lot of work that goes into that mentor program, and that's for new agents. We have great mentors. This is one of them for sure. We have our director of training, Kristen, who's absolutely amazing. Who pours into that. It's, as I always say, is like the conduit amongst many other things between all the mentors and the mentees, and that's a lot of pride and commitment. Kristen teaches amazing classes. I think many of you have been there, and it's very much a team effort, and it's very much a collaborative effort. So
And Justin too.
Justin, thank you. So Anat, who is someone who I think is amazing, who I knew from the moment I met her, always with the most grateful, positive attitude, and then just action, hungry to learn and hungry to take what she learns and put it into action, right? Knowledge is a great starting point, but knowledge without action gets you nowhere, right? So with that said, do you want to tell?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
Today's topic of conversation was all about her. You're talking about Anat. I mean, she is very purposeful. She's very intentional. She chooses her words very, very carefully. She means exactly what she says. And at the end of it all, it's all aligned with care. She really, really cares. So she's closed 2 deals very quickly. She's already
Very
on her
quickly.
way to being a great agent, and I'm so excited for her and can't wait to watch her grow and do and close and, just be the amazing person that she is.
Love it.
I didn't get the opportunity to spend much one-on-one time with you or talking much, other than your great questions in class, and that is because you took such initiative yourself. So really, like, hats off to you. But I can remember when we first met, all I thought was like, what grace and tact can go a long way with that.
Yeah.
So congratulations to you, and really good luck
Yeah.
to you. and
And
your
anything you want to share with the group?
First of all, I'm extremely thankful and excited. When I met Josh, when I just came here, Janet brought me before I even got my license, and I fell in love with the energy that Josh brought. And I remember I talked to him, and he was so welcoming, and I didn't even care to go to any other office. People called me, I don't know how, but they're like, "Yeah, you're getting your license." I'm like, "No, I'm already with Keller Williams, I'm good." And then I met Kristen, I fell in love with her. And I remember I asked her I wanted a women mentor, and she gave me Rhonda, which I'm so thankful to. And she was a tough one, and that's why I love her, because she really put me into the, Anat, you gotta do it by yourself, and I did. And that's it. I started calling. I did bold. I started calling, and got my first one, a mobile home, but it was
Yeah.
fine.
Yep.
And through my contacts, and the second one actually saw me through my social media posts. She's like, oh, she was the mother of my son's best friend, and she didn't even know I was doing real estate because I didn't get to call her yet. But and then that was the second deal. And I'm excited, and I can't wait for my third one.
A
You're
mentee that actually took direction and
Yeah.
did what
Coachable.
she needed to
Yeah.
do.
Came to all the classes.
Totally,
And
totally
she
engaged.
did
That's
both.
what, yep,
And she did both.
Yeah. That's what it's all, I always say, it's like be coachable, engage, plug in, environment matters, but it only matters to the extent that you engage in the environment. It doesn't matter if you don't, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you,
both.
totally,
You put
yeah.
in the effort, but you don't, take the educational part of it. You're just spinning your wheels.
Yep.
You take just the educational part, but you put no effort in, there's no one to share that knowledge with. So you did a really great job.
You're awesome.
So thank
Let's
you.
get a quick picture. Yeah.
I'm still shaking.
You're awesome. Thank you.
so
I have to
much.
do this more. It's great.
Thank you guys, everyone. All right, before I go out to the, our featured guests, just quickly, Brandon, Lauren, tell us a little bit, and May, what you're seeing in the market.
Yeah, so it's the holiday season. I think for a lot of us, this might be our first December in real estate. So we're seeing what's typical in the seasonality of real estate. Last year was atypical because it was just crazy coming off COVID. The year before that, same kind of thing. People were free for the first time traveling. So now we're seeing like a more normal holiday season. So this is a great time to connect, just like we did last week for Thanksgiving. But in connecting, oh, great. Just remember a few key things, because this is going to be your business for next year. I know agents who've been doing it for decades. All their business for the whole year comes from their holiday parties with their clients. You'll get to that point. In the meantime, and by doing that, they all share the same agent in common. So buy them, and I'll talk about how great that agent was, etc. Go to as many holiday events as you can. Go to luncheons. This is the opportunity to connect with people, build a database. Everyone's guard is down because they're just happy it's the holiday. They want to do things. They want to be jolly. They want to have an extra glass of wine. Ask people where they're living. Ask them where they're renting. What they're paying, where they live, and then tie that into the real estate conversation. Say, oh, well, you own in Beverly Hills, you're safe because you're not in the measured ULA geography. So all the buyers gonna be looking at you now because you're not gonna have to pay an extra transfer tax. So just think of the ways to connect with people, because this is gonna be your way to kick off 2023. I have an app that's great. If you want different content, some of them talks about, the real estate market during the last 4 recessions. And you'll be surprised, the market's actually done extremely well. So people are very confused right now in the market. And if you look at Beverly Hills and Brentwood, which are our 2 main zip codes over here, we're still up in an appreciation mode, even though the numbers are coming down, units are way down. But talk about supply and demand. And we're still so little in supply that demand is keeping prices closing at like 10% rent. So there's ways that you can still use numbers to your advantage before they do maybe go down, which is typical at the end of December and January and February before they start to go back up. So just have a good time in December, go out, shake as many hands as you can, get their phone number. Don't always rely on them to call you by you giving them a business card. And then, have fun with it. So anyways, I just thought I
Love it.
wanted to share that.
Good stuff. You want to go last?
We'll
May, or-
save the big money. Okay.
Yeah, let's see.
Let's get the title guys out of the way. So, Lauren Goldman with First American Title. Thank you, Doc. So I normally come out with hardcore stats, and I get every 2 weeks LA County, like a little snapshot, and it's holiday pause, and that's definitely what we're experiencing. So this year more than ever, the listing inventory is below what December normally gives us. People start to retrench this time of year. They got the holidays on their mind. So people are either not thinking about it because their homes on the market, right, they're going until the first of the year, or a lot of people have just been beaten up, they didn't sell, the market quickly changed, and they're going to pull their homes off the market and then relist at the beginning of the year. So we have that double whammy of inventory, just low, low, low. And then conversely, the last 2 weeks, I can give you stats, the demand is down. Like in the last 2 weeks, it slid 5% demand, 5% in 2 weeks. And that's the largest slide of demand that we've had, I think, in a 2-week span ever. That's since they've been tracking this. I think I've been tracking this for at least 15 years. So this is the time definitely to retrench. This is the time to think about next year. Some people, if you really stick to it, have their best month of the year in December with people that have to transact. By tax year, they have to close a deal for whatever reason, so need space, right? This is definitely a market where you have to do something, death, divorce, a job change, having a kid, moving out of state for some reason, retiring, whatever it may be, they must transact now, no matter what the market is. That's where you're gonna make your whole year's worth of commission in December while everyone else is kind of playing. So if you're looking for touches, what do I want to say to these people in December? The holiday parties are great and you do all of them, but you definitely work people that and even those that you don't know about December 10th, tax bills are due and delinquent December 10th. You have a copy of your bill. Can I send you a tax roll? You want a reminder of this? So that's a touch. Anybody that closed, whether it's with you or somebody else, either get them or remind them that they're going to need their closing statement for taxes beginning of the year. And just anybody and anybody who's transacted, what can I do for you? This is tax time. Tax season's coming, January. So any kind of touch like that, kind of a year-end wrap up that helps them get their stuff together. That's what you want to do. And last thing I want to say is look for 1031 exchange money. So cash is king. We all know that. They're not afraid of rates. So anybody coming out of a 1031 exchange, if you can snip that out, find that 1031 exchange money, that they have to go shopping. So that's great. And luxury is still doing great. There's a lot of money in town, obviously. People are buying big homes. They're not worried about rates. So they're shopping. There's less competition. And prices are softening in the high end. I got numbers here that say last year a property over $8 million took about 110 days, something like that, to sell. Now we're over 1,000. So these people are sitting there with homes that they're reducing. They're getting frustrated, right? They're pulling the homes off the market. Even in the high end, they're sitting there for the longest time. Sellers don't want that. They just want an offer. Give me an offer. So here you come with a buyer. Let's make a deal when it's less crowded in December.
Thank you.
Right.
Awesome, Mark. Thanks. They are in-house lender.
Don't you
Moving
guys
mortgage.
love Josh? I mean, when I leave here, I always have so much energy.
There you
It's
go.
because I've seen him. So
Thank you.
anyway, can't emphasize anymore. The rates are actually not that bad. It's 6.25 to 6.5. And it's a normal market. It's not, we just were in a weird market of 2.5%, 3%. So the rates are okay, especially in the jumbo arena, 6.25. You can do the buy down, the 2-1 buy down, and all that stuff. So if you need a quick closing, 10 days, 15 days, just give me a call. I can, if you have a deal that is all of a sudden falling apart, let me know, and we can close it by the end of the month. But that's about it, just keep your chin up, keep trying, don't forget, just keep pedaling the bike.
And the one thing I'm gonna say real fast, I know we're being time sensitive, and May said this last time, is ask questions. That the market is changing with respect to the lending environment. So don't assume what was the case, even a week ago is now the case now, without asking people like May, who's in an authoritative position, who really knows what kind of options you may have. And having creative financing is critical to getting deals done right now.
Every day we get new programs
Yeah.
and new banks and new options, so just always ask.
So just the 3-2-1 buy down is the rate for the first year is 3% less than the second year, 2% off. What does that cost typically? And that
Whatever
cost.
is the difference in the payment between, okay, so you get a loan, for instance, the rate right now 6.25.
Right.
Okay. So if you do the 2-1 buy down, you start with 4.25, 5.25, 6.
Right.
So you're gonna get to 6.25 at the third year. So the first 2 years, you're paying below what the note rate is. So if you take that payment, let's just say the payment is $800 a month less, you multiply it by 12, and the next year is $700 a month less, whether that is a cost to the buyer or the seller.
So it could be negotiated like with the seller.
Or the seller
Yeah.
to pay.
You know,
So
something more-
it's really good. It's a really good option because you're really getting 2 years of much lower payment. And in a year, there is no prepayment penalty. None of owner occupied product, any of them has any prepayment penalty. They're not allowed to.
I was gonna say it also acts as a closing cost for the seller if he's paying for it. So
Yeah.
an expense that they could.
Less taxes.
Less
less
taxes.
benefit.
Yeah.
So the savings, does it go inside an escrow account and stays there for the?
No, they pay for it
refer to one-
upfront.
Oh,
That's why I'm saying it's a cost upfront, the seller is gonna have to pay for it, or the buyer wants to pay for it. Why would the buyer do that? They won't. It's usually if the seller is willing to take either a lower sale price and give them a higher sale price and give them back. You know, it's in his closing statement, so you can get a break tax wise on it.
So when do you think is the best time to negotiate that? At the time of an offer or at the time of a physical inspection?
I would say,
At the offer.
well, you know, you, depending on your, it depends. You know, what's the price that you're negotiating for the original price of the house? And then, you know, are there inspections and are you need credits for that? Right. And
No, there's no set rule.
I would say it all depends.
A lot of my realtor use it after inspection. Because then they say, okay, we can lower the.
You want to get into escrow first.
You're
with the
right.
seller.
And
So
if
you don't
there's a
want to,
multiple offers,
you don't want to start asking
not the
for
ideal.
all this stuff up front. So
You don't wanna scare the buyer, you don't want the
So,
seller. Then you do the inspection, then it's our charm. I guess.
Thank you, man. You're awesome. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
by the way, I'm gonna do a class on December 15. And I'm gonna have the regional management there, so I want everybody to come. So I look for the.
All right, so I'm gonna introduce very quickly our special guests. These are
Just
guys. Yeah.
one real quick,
Yeah.
there are new forms, cars, releasing in 3 weeks, so week of December 19th. And I'll talk more
I love how
about
they're
those.
releasing them in December. Anyway.
Well, I mean, they gave this to us,
Right.
like 3 to 4 months.
Right, yeah.
So, and there's a couple of new forms and there's revised forms, so it's important to know what they are. We'll probably do, one of my broker classes will be. on that. I just realized forms are changing in 3 weeks.
Awesome. So these guys I've known for a couple of years. They've only been in the business less than 5 years. They've already done over $1 million of gross commission annually last year, okay, this past 12 months. So that says a lot. I mean, that's pretty elite for anyone, let alone someone, guys who've been in the business less than 5 years. They are genuinely servant leaders. They pour back into their team. Not only do they do great brokerage, but they're also very actively involved in real estate investing and syndication, out of state and in state. We'll talk a little bit about that. Couldn't be happier to have these guys here and excited to watch them grow and evolve. They also happen to be investors in one of my other offices, so I'm excited about that as well. Aaron Bernbach, Devin McNichol, come on up. You either put these on you or just hold them. So we're gonna move fast because I know we got about 20 minutes, maybe not even. Maybe just a quick background. I always think it's important to have some context about you guys, how long you've known each other, how you got involved in business together, and why real estate.
Yeah, so Devin and I met actually playing music in 2009. We toured around the country in a van together for many years and both kind of managed the band. So that's how we
Get to know each other probably pretty well.
you know each other real well.
Yep.
Very smelly.
Yeah. And while we were touring around, we started to listen to real estate podcasts and investing specifically in apartment buildings. One of our mentors here told us the best way to get started in it was to get your license and learn it from the inside out. And that's kind of what we've done.
So the investment piece was really the catalyst, and then the brokerage piece was like, hey, a way to get more involved in the investment piece, correct?
It was to learn the industry from the inside out and to
Yeah.
have some money to invest.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Love
exactly.
it.
we unfortunately weren't rock stars. We're not the Rolling Stones.
No.
What
No?
were your instruments?
I played guitar, you played bass, we both
We
sang.
both played both, yeah.
Both saying.
What's the
Love it.
band?
West Coast Weekends.
Is it still together?
Yeah, it's on Spotify.
You can find it. It will be like-
Love it. Love it. And how long in real estate now and brokerage?
For, I think our first house we sold was March 2018. So 4.5 years.
Okay, love it. So let me ask you, with that perspective, now understanding why you guys were getting into it, how do you see brokerage still relative to the investment syndication piece? Like, tell us where your focus lies, how they synergistically work together, and like, what is your sort of plan and process that you go about doing both?
I think, just to go back a step, if you don't know what a syndication is, kind of a really dumbed down version is we spend a lot of time analyzing markets around the country and then analyzing buildings, apartments specifically. And then we set up an LLC, and a chunk of that LLC, let's say 70% is the money needed to buy it. And then 30% is us and our partners managing it. And so we invest in that 70%, but we're able to buy, like, we just bought a $16 million building in Florida. And we raise money from people we know and people we don't know and brokers that we know and have done deals with to invest and get passive returns. So if they invest $50,000, 4 to 6 years, that will become $100,000 through rents and through the equity growth of the building. And so we saw one of my big whys in this, and I tell everybody, like, my dad is a super hardworking guy, raised me, great upbringing, kind of middle class, and he's still driving a school bus in his second career because nobody taught him how to do this. And so one of my big passions is giving back now that we've learned how to do this to brokers and to people, friends of ours, and to people that are doing well, but they say, oh, I have this money now, I don't know what to do with it. And so to answer your question, is part of that is like when we do, like today I was doing an inspection with one of our listings, and I'm telling the other broker, like, hey, I know you're gonna make X amount of money from this deal. What are you gonna do with it? You don't need to go buy a new Mercedes. Why don't you put that into our apartment building, and then you'll have a passive source of income coming in. And another big reason is because, you know, we've sold houses tear downs for $1.3 million, and 13 months later, we sold the new builds for $4.5 million. And our builders are making $1 million. And, you know, we're making good money on the commissions, even though they're trying to cut us out on those. But so we're trying to teach the community of brokers of how we can all make money in the investing side of things as well.
Love that.
So we are learning and how to manage our time in hustling, because the more we get listings to make money, we kind of lose track of the investing, and then we buy buildings like, oh crap, we gotta go get listings again, and buyers and sellers. So it's evolving.
We need to get better at time management. That's what I'm saying.
And so does everyone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, it's, you know. Kind of go ahead.
Did you take any specific training for this?
Yeah, great question. So we did about 4 years of podcasting and books, and like, if you could ask me later, but there's a ton of books and podcasts. And then we paid to join a coaching and a mastermind and mentorship group. Because we wanted, before I raised $100,000 from a friend or $50,000 from a relative, we wanted to make sure that we knew what we were doing. So yeah.
Who was your favorite guitar?
Okay. This guy.
So you guys are doing the management. You're managing.
We're doing the asset management. So it's us and boots on the ground partners, depending on where the property is located. But we do weekly calls with property management to make sure, basically making sure they're hitting the business plan.
So we hire local property managers as well. But part of the reason that it's great is that our partner in Florida has 4 buildings. So our property management fee is like 3.4% of the gross rent. It's like super low. And if it was only that one building, it would have been 5%. And I just did the math with an investor the other day. So because he has 4 buildings, we're saving something like $30,000 a year, which with the cap rate there makes the value of our building like $500,000-$600,000 more because of, and those are kind of fancy words maybe for people that don't know, but it enables us to scale the business and have a bigger profit because of.
You get a multiple of the profit,
Yeah.
therefore when the profit, you know, goes up a little bit, the multiple goes up that much more. So the value of property is that much higher. Yeah.
Do you represent yourselves out of state?
We don't know.
I was wondering because we don't have our license in
Right.
other
Yeah.
states, but California.
No, one of the reasons we do that is on purpose. It's because we want these brokers to send us their off-market listings.
And by the way, not to go off on a tangent, but we talk about that a lot of the commercial thing, is that there's a whole infrastructure within KW Commercial that allows us to very purposely align with other brokers in other states to do it very cost effectively and get a referral fee on that, but that's.
Yeah. Well,
So-
that's good, you can referral or.
No,
I don't know if
we
they
don't.
do, they don't,
We don't.
it's- yeah, they're, that's just purely for the brokerage piece, and they're very intentional, which is important. They don't wanna feel like they're competing with other, investors, right?
I mean,
So
I
they
said
want-
the same thing to agents here.
Yep.
In the office or wherever. I'm like, if you have a great deal or an off-market apartment or 240 unit or anything, like you can represent us, right? Same thing an investor says to us, because which I just said, like, yeah, it's great to make $50,000 or $100,000 selling the building, but it's really awesome to make X amount of money as the investor passively. And there's work for us in that, obviously, but our job as agents is so transactional. We wanted things that are more passive and growing in equity through ownership.
So you create the corporation, you own part of the corporation, right?
Yeah,
And you
LLC
get the
through LLC.
investors to be part of the partnership.
Yep.
right?
Yeah. So the investors, it's really great because unlike a REIT, like on the stock market where you're getting distributions, you are an owner of the building. So when we do a cash out refinance, you get your percentage ownership of that. And when we sell it, you get your percentage ownership. You get
It's a K1. right?
exactly, and you get the depreciation as well of the building. But you're, as an investor, a limited partner, so you don't have the liability.
These guys play on the both the limited partnership they play and in the general.
Well, that's why LLC was created, is to cover the personal life.
Exactly, yeah.
Which a lot of people don't.
So let me, these guys are gonna subsequently, which I'm fine with, teach, because I want them to come back and do some stuff much more extensively on the syndication investment. Because I think a lot of people have interest in that. These guys have a ton of expertise on that. So I wanna we'll focus on that at a later date, which is fine. No, I wanted you to plant the seed, for sure. Come back to the brokerage piece for a minute and tell us a little bit about where your businesses come from, what will be different, if at all, in the future, what are the keys to growth? Because I know you guys are always very growth minded. Again, these guys did, $43 million of closed volume in the last 12 months, which is probably just over $1 billion of closed commission, which is pretty amazing. What are the keys to helping you guys use your time more effectively and continue to grow?
I'd say most of our business comes from our sphere, comes from people we know and referrals. And it goes back to everything we were talking about earlier, where you just exceed expectations, do what you say you're going to do, and just stay connected. Go to the holiday parties that were mentioned. You want to be, when somebody thinks
And
real
host them,
estate-
host them,
and host them. Yeah, we did.
They do, go ahead, very intentional about that.
We
You guys-
did we also do farming, and in our farm for the past couple of years, we've delivered 1,400 pumpkins to every homeowner. And then we always get a couple, 100 extra, and we do a pumpkin carving party every Halloween, right before Halloween, to get all of our past clients, current clients, friends, and everybody together. And we're gonna do another holiday party, kind of the same thing. Just put yourself at the center of a community and everybody will come to you, everybody will think of you.
We were doing a Christmas party at my house, and I literally had a buddy who already owned a house, who said, "Man, I'm getting your postcards every month. Why do you send those to me?" And I'm like, "Well, the idea is you see it and you're like, oh yeah, Devin's a realtor,
Mind share.
top of mind. That way, if you think of someone who might be buying or selling, you recommend them." And he's like, "Wait, I do know someone who's looking to buy." Bro, I've been sending you freaking postcards for 18 months, bro. But it all works hand in hand, right? So you say that people are just farming work, and it's well, we knock on the doors, we send them emails, we have our open house signs up, we host food drives with the local elementary schools. We've given advice to people who don't want to sell, just to remodel their house on what's hot and what's not right now in the market. And then that all comes together for referrals. So that was great because, to go back to what he said about the sphere, we weren't born in LA. We're not from rich families. We were broke musicians. And so I was like, I don't know anyone who can buy a house in LA. It looked like sphere of influence when I started. But now I tell my team, you make your list of everyone you know. And that could be your old boss at a job that you had or whatever, right? And then the more you think about it, you're like, oh, I actually do know people And then, like Aaron said, once you sell them one house, then you host a housewarming party for them. And then they meet people, and this has happened where you're like, oh yeah, they help them buy, and then you help them buy. And the sphere has continued to grow from that. Or we'd knock on a door and they'd say, we're never selling. Get out of here. You're the fifth realtor to not. I'd be like, dude, I don't blame you, Mark. This is an amazing neighborhood with this view. Like, what? Like, my job is to win you over so that you tell the neighbor that you've been. So they now get a postcard and a letter every month, and they're part of our sphere of influence, and they get a pumpkin delivered, right? And when we first started, we were knocking in Koreatown, and we brought some lady. She was like the one nice lady of the day. Like, we literally bought her a pumpkin pie and brought it back. And she called me 3.5 years later and was like, my husband and I want to sell, and I remember that pumpkin pie. And these are the stories that like the veterans told us. Like, that's never happened. By the way, it was like the worst pumpkin pie I've ever had in my life. It was like $4 at Food Lion or whatever because we were so broke.
To dock the count. Yeah.
I guess you like it.
And by the way, I mean, these guys are unbelievably purposeful, as you can see, and consistent. Like, I get their emails all the time. Like, that's it. It's mind share. It's consistency. It's playing the long game, you know, and that's what pays off over time. Too many of us are like, what's in it for me this second? And therefore we don't end up doing a whole lot of anything, as opposed to saying, okay, I'm going to create rapport over time. I'm going to build mind share. And who knows where that leads, whether they call you 3.5 years later, or they're telling a friend. It all becomes exponential when you do that with consistency. So what else like is going to help you guys take it to the next level?
Carving out time for prospecting in the mornings, probably. And getting back to cold calling and getting back to door knocking on a consistent basis.
Because when we first started, we would like 2 hours a day be calling and knocking. And one day we'd like hate cold calling. And we're like, oh, at least I'm outside door knocking the next day. Anyway, but we would do that and we wouldn't get a single lead. I swear, like I remember the first time I got a call, I was at the rock climbing gym. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited. This guy's calling me. And I answered and he's like, are you Devin? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I'm going to call the cops on you for trespassing. I'm like, God, man, I just spent my heart. And I was like so demoralized. But this is a real story. I sent that guy cards. Like when I went to Vermont with my girlfriend, I sent him a Christmas card. And I went and traveled the world. I sent him a postcard. And I was like, hey, so nice thinking of you, blah, blah, blah. Like 15 months later, he called me. He's like, hey, my wife and I want to buy a house in Malibu.
Wow. Make it a game. If somebody like says no,
It's an
I really
opportunity.
aggressively. Oh yeah.
So
Make it.
and that won't always happen. Like we've been burned, and we have a slogan like when someone's like, you know, you've been working the seller for 6 months and they list with somebody else, and we call each other and we're like, got them right where we want them.
Yeah.
And you got to stay positive. We give each other 24 hours to be mad. But what I was going to say to his point is that now that we've gotten busy with 3, 4, 5, 6 escrows at a time or whatever, you lose time to prospect and follow up. So
Keep the pipeline going, because too many of us in this business, it's like you get some deals in escrow, you take your foot off the pedal with the lead generating and the prospecting, and then all of a sudden, once the escrow is closed, you got nothing in the pipeline. And so it's important to have that level of discipline, consistency, and systems, so that with your time block schedule, and you stay really consistent and purposeful about it. Tell us.
I think
I
I think we've been fairly good at that. I mean, we have like a streak going right now for escrows, which I don't want to say to jinx it, but it's like you can see the numbers. Like we did 36 units at 43 million. So we're not selling. I mean, we've sold some. We did one $10 million deal. We've done 4.5, 3.5. But a lot of our sphere is in that 800 to $1.5 million range. And right now we just sold 2.3. We have a listing 1.9. But so there has been a lot of volume, and we're hoping that the people that we continue to stay in touch with them, and as they grow in their income and their wealth, that we will grow with them.
Yeah, we're starting to see that where houses that we sold in the first year, now we're either helping them lease it and finding a replacement property, or we're selling it and helping them find the next property. So that's when it like really starts to snowball.
Tell us real quickly, we've got a few more minutes and then these guys got to go because they got a couple of appointments. What does your team look like, and what do you look for when you're looking for people to join your team? Like what's part of the value proposition? What's the culture?
Yeah. So our team right now, we have 2 agents underneath us, potentially a third, we'll see. And then we have a virtual assistant who helps us well, and a transaction coordinator that we use for everything.
And then 2 other VAs that cold call for us too.
Yeah. Probably the biggest thing that we look for is your heart in the right place. And you find that out, you can find that out pretty quickly. We have a good instinct about that. Because we need to make sure that you're gonna do the right thing in a stressful situation when it may not be the right thing for you. You know what I mean? And that's above all else, that's number one.
So yeah, I'd say the morals and the ethics of the industry, especially in a commission-based world of like, you know, we've told people, hey, I don't think you should buy this house. Even though I'm gonna lose my commission because this is too much work for you, or this is why, unless your uncle's a contractor, or you're, you know what you're getting into. And then same thing for the sellers, like, where are you gonna move? You're a senior, what are you gonna do? Have you talked to your CPA about taxes? Have you thought about renting it? And kind of like what you said, like truly them feeling like, wow, this person has my best intentions in mind, that's what we want, but that also has helped us grow.
Yeah. And the first thing we talk to with homeowners, if they're thinking about selling, is go through a scenario with them. Can they hold it? Can they hold it and rent it long-term? Because that's going to help them get to their retirement faster. And even just starting with that kind of knocks people back. They're like, what? And we tell them, like, we make a very small commission when we help you lease it, but it's long-term. So we want to help everybody long-term.
Yeah, that's how you build trust and rapport, guys, and you're playing the long game, because you may forego perhaps a little bit of something now, but you gain way more back in the future when people truly trust you and are great advocates of yours. So in the interest of time, I'm going to open up to a couple quick questions, then we'll wrap this up.
I just want to say one thing real quick, because I heard like everyone's saying the market's slowing down, X, Y, and Z, but like when we first started, there was a lot of drama at our old brokerage, and we were just like nose down. And we try and do the same thing right now of like it's hard to ignore that things have slowed down and there's recession and you're looking at your phone and there's pending doom and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I don't know, we have a 1031 buyer we're working with right now who's looking to buy like 7 million. We just showed a house with them with a buyer at 4 million cash. Well, we have 3 escrows that we're in, right? And so just like the positivity and like your own bubble within one of the biggest and best and wealthiest cities in the world. There's so many opportunities out there. And this month in particular, I would be calling all of your buyers who haven't responded to you and being like, hey, every other buyer right now is eating pumpkin pie, but you can get deals right now. I'll write 10 offers for you, 20% under asking price, right? And like, oh, really? Yeah, let's get a deal for you. So I think, I don't know.
I think it's good. Action. Conversations. That's what these guys, go ahead.
Yeah, now it's just, it's a great time. Everybody's checked out.
Yep.
It's a great time for people. That's all.
Yep.
How do you know Evan Rosenblum, and how do we get him back? And he wants to know why you haven't found a cash buyer for Evan Bernbach.
So Evan is an investor with us. We haven't done a deal with him yet, but he's in the same education platform. And so we've met him in multiple cities around the country to look at apartments, and
we just haven't found
He
it.
was here and he left us, so we got to
That's
get him
right.
back.
Yeah.
right.
Yep. That's a good guy.
We'll work on
Really
it.
good guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a nice guy.
Yep.
We'll find him a buyer.
Other questions? Any Armand, Trent? So I met these guys through you guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as I say, talent attracts talent, environment matters. And as you can tell, guys, these guys are like salt of the earth, disciplined, consistent, purposeful, and doing great things, and are just scratching the surface for being 4.5 years. Do I have that right? Yeah, 4.5 years in the business.
Oh, I just remembered my point. So when we were knocking 2 hours of cold calling, and the guy's like, you're trespassing. Like, I swear I'd be like driving home and I'd get a call from someone who's like, hey, my friend at work wants to buy. And I'm like, that would not have happened unless I put the energy out there, door knocking and cold calling. And I really truly believe that there's something in that, and I tell the teammates all the time, like, hey, put up the picture that you're out door knocking, put up the picture on Instagram that you're at inspections every time, that you're seeing houses actively, because you want your community. I can't tell you how many people from Instagram, like 2 times I've had friends that are like, that I've sold their place and helped them buy another, because they were like, yeah, the agent we bought our house with didn't seem as active as you on Instagram. That's a real thing that came out of their mouth. I was like, I cannot believe that. But we try and do that all the time. Like, even when we go do do leases, stay busy. People will sense that energy, that you know what you're talking about and that you're busy. Yeah.
Like, you attract who you are, period, bottom line. So if you're in action, you're gonna attract a lot of people by virtue of that. They want people that are resourceful, that they know are gonna go to bat for them. You know, and these guys definitely embody that. People know that, they feel that, they sense that. You can only, with all due respect, you can only bullshit that so far. You know, when people sense authenticity and it comes out and it instills confidence, and that's definitely what you guys have done, and could be, you know, happier to have you guys here and watch you grow and evolve on many levels. So, any last call for a last question? Okay, awesome, guys. Thank you very much. I'll let you guys go get some more business. Thank you.
I told him you'd get him the buyer who came back.
I like that. I like that.
You too. Yeah. You have a card?
Good to see you.
You too.
We're in the back office. Nice meeting you. Thank you, yeah. And I did call her. I guess I should have said that.
Good, dude. How are you?